Hi, and thanks for joining. If you're new here, I'm Wendy, and this is Nina's Jewels. My husband and I sell things at garage sales, thrift stores, flea markets, just about anywhere we can find things to sell online and flip for a profit. If that's content you're interested in, stick around. And make sure to hit that like button, and if you're not already subscribed, consider subscribing so you can be kept informed of all of our latest content. Today's video is going to be what sold for the week of April 2nd through 8th. Let's get started. The first thing we sold was a vintage t-shirt. It was handmade in Costa Rica. The reason why we sold it is because it had a handmade, what's called a mola on it. And that's that applique that you can see on the front. And this item was gifted to us by my mom. She found it when she was out looking at things and knew that it would sell because those molas are really sought after. The actual t-shirt part wasn't in great condition, but we sold it specifically for the mola. We thought somebody might want to use it and cut it off to do some kind of like crafting project. So we mentioned the part about the t-shirt being kind of stained up and sold it specifically, for the mola. That sold for $10. We had no cost associated with it, and it sold on best offer. We did get positive feedback on it. So if you ever see anything with a mola on it, just know that even if, it's on something and what it's sewn onto isn't in great shape, that those handmade molas are sought after for other reasons, and you can sell it for just the mola. Next up was a vintage Talbot's size 2. It was a petite size, canary yellow 100% silk shirt. That sold on best offer for $18. We got this at a thrift store and paid, well, I don't remember how much we paid originally, but we have our cost of goods set at $5.77 because it had been purchased before and returned, so we have some additional shipping cost rolled into that. But the buyer liked it this time, and we received positive feedback on it. Next up was it was a quilting miter tool that we found in the Goodwill bins. It was new in its package. We paid 94 cents for it, and it sold for $10.99. We got positive feedback on that as well. This particular what sold video, we got so much positive feedback. We get a lot of positive feedback, which we like, but this particular one, I don't know, when I was making the spreadsheet, I noticed that we got like so much positive feedback, so that was nice to see. Next up was a glass aquarium canopy by Marineland. You probably saw, if you watch any of our other videos, you might have seen us pick this up at a garage sale. It was new in the package, but it was kind of yellowed from age. At least the rubber or plastic parts of it were yellowed from age, and we disclosed that in the listing. We only paid 75 cents for this, and it sold for $44 even on best offer. And also there was a little chip on the corner of one of the glass parts, but it could have been used to replace a panel if you were using it to replace it, or even with that tiny little chip, it could have still been used. So it was still functional and new. I think these sell for like $99, so the buyer got a great deal on it no matter what. Next up was a really cute, it was about 5 inches long, and it was a heavy metal, it says heavy metal, pewter and brass lidded trinket box in the shape of a duck. So the top of it came off. You could lift the top of it off, and it had you could use it as like a little jewelry box or a trinket box. And we were gifted this by a friend who was moving out of her large home into a smaller like an apartment type home or a town home. And so she gifted us a bunch of her collectible pewter items to sell. This sold for $24.99, and we didn't have any cost associated with it. So thank you to Susan for giving us that. Next up was a magazine that we got from the big lot of magazines off of the lady on Nextdoor. It sold for $12.99, and we had zero cost associated with that as well. Next up was a 2012 Chuck E. Cheese green plastic mini lunchbox. So it was like this big. It was, you know, one of the items that you would have traded in your tickets to, you know, get a prize. This we got at the thrift store in a bag of in a large bag of toys, and we paid 43 cents for it, and it sold for $18.99. So any like vintage Chuck E. Cheese prize type items we have found sell really quickly for us, or not, you know, not super fast, but they sell quick enough that we pick them up. There are definitely Chuck E. Cheese collectors out there. Anytime we see Chuck E. Cheese toys, we definitely pick those up. And I would recommend that you do the same. Next up, this came from the same sale as the Sun Diner from our last What Sold video. And also, if you watched in previous What Sold videos, the Sears new and packaged Sears bedspreads, which were major profit items for us. This particular garage sale was probably my favorite garage sale of all times. And we didn't even realize it at the time that we were shopping the garage sale, but we've made so much money off of this garage sale. We got 2 Linkin Park tour t-shirts at this garage sale, and the other one made us a lot more money. But this was a Linkin Park Incubus 2012 concert t-shirt. This one sold for $35 even on best offer, and we paid $1.50. The other Linkin Park t-shirt that we sold had the band Mute Math, M-U-T-E-M-A-T-H, which is a band I've never heard of. But that one sold, gosh, I think for like $75 a long time ago, like within days of listing it. So I don't know who that band is, but I'm assuming that the reason why it sold faster than this one is because of Mute Math. So another Bolo item, Mute Math. Next up is a women's Puma trucker hat. We got this in the Facebook Marketplace garbage bags of clothes. Let's see. This sold for, I don't know what I've written down here because I know this is wrong. This sold for $13 even on best offer. And I'm pretty sure we paid 67 cents for this. I've written down obviously the wrong thing. Next up is another item from the Sugar Train estate sale. I will link that video here. We got so many amazing items at that sale. This was a pair of Aerosoles women's beaded sandals. These sold really quickly for $19.99, and we paid $4 even for them. We got positive feedback on them. Next up is another item from the Sugar Train estate sale. We found so many amazing finds in the garage, which was kind of like a dungeon out there, but we found so many treasures in that dungeon. This was a solenoid shaved door kit. So it was something that you would use for like creating hot rods. I know nothing about that. Obviously, I feel like I'm sounding really stupid right now, but my husband knew what it was. And these are called door poppers. Once again, I have no idea what that is, but if I ever see anything that looks remotely like this again, I would pick it up because we made money on it. This was in a box of stuff out in the garage sale that was like a lot of car type items, of which we still have a lot of items left, and we got the whole box for $15. These were new in package. We averaged out our cost of that box, and we said that we paid 75 cents for this particular item, and it sold very quickly for $44.98. It went somewhere to Europe through the global shipping program. We got positive feedback on it. Next up was a chicken roaster with a gravy pan that was by Adam Industries. We got this, it was new in the box that we got in the Goodwill bins. We kind of had this for a long time, but didn't take up a lot of space, even though it seemed like it would have been big. It fit into a box pretty small. Not that small, I don't know. It didn't take up a lot of space. and we made money on it, so yay for that. It sold for $15.99 and we only paid 92 cents for it, so I would definitely pick it up again. We always pick up new in the package items in the Goodwill bins. This was a new old stock item too, which we also definitely always pick up new old stock items. Next up was another new in package item that we got in the Goodwill bins, and this was a 2013 My Little Pony 3-pack of, they were called Loom Charms. They were tiny. They were like a stocking stuffer type item. This sold for $9.99 and we paid 68 cents for it. Got positive feedback on that. Next up was another Goodwill bin item. These were not new in the package. In fact, they were pretty worn out. They looked like they had been well loved, and they took a lot of cleaning from us. These I probably would not pick up again because just the amount of time that we had to put into them and the amount of, compared to the amount of profit that we made on them, probably not worth it, but they were still fun. We liked playing with them when we were cleaning them. They were Despicable Me electronic minions, Kevin and Stuart. They sold for $24 even on best offer, and we only paid 94 cents for them. We did get positive feedback on them, so we are happy about that because we were a little bit worried about it because they were they had a lot of wear on them, which we disclosed, but I always worry, you know, that buyers aren't going to read the listing and see that we've said how much wear is on it, but this buyer was happy with it, and we got positive feedback. So next up was a Rawlings T-ball glove. It sold for $15.98 on offer to buyer. For some reason, we did not have this listed on our spreadsheet, so we don't know where we got it or how much we paid for it. It was just probably an oversight on our part, or I accidentally deleted it, or something happened along the way. Next up was a Torrid Active hoodie, like a athletic style hoodie. It sold for $27.98, and I got this in the thrift store. We paid $6.41. It sold pretty quickly, and we got positive feedback. Next up was another athletic jacket that we got in the thrift store, same thrift store. It was in a really pretty apple green color. It sold for $29.99. We paid $3.78 for that. It didn't sell as quickly as the other one though. We had to hang on to that one for a little while. Next up was a 2019 Dandy Collector's Choice plush Easter bunny. I got this at a garage sale, and it was a garage sale where I got like a lot of stuff, and so I ended up just averaging out my cost because she gave me a bulk price and I had no idea what my per item cost was. So I said that my cost on this item was 87 cents, and it sold for $17.18 on offer to buyer. Next up was a brand new in package pair of green camo walkie-talkies. We got this at the same garage sale that we got the aquarium canopy. These sold for $24.99, and we paid $5. They sold for our asking price. Next up was a Vera Bradley twist lock wallet in the retired pattern Petal Splash. This I got at a thrift store. I paid $4, and it sold for $20 on best offer. Vera Bradley doesn't do very well for us. In fact, I have to get like a really screaming deal on it for me to pick it up. We just, it doesn't move fast enough for me to pick it up. And so unless I can get it for like pretty dirt cheap, or get it like new with tags, I don't pick it up. Next up is a pair of Cole Haan women's Spectator slip-on loafers. The style, I'm not sure what the style, maybe the style was, actually I'm not sure what the style was. I'm not going to even try to answer that. We got these at a thrift store. We paid $7.57, and they sold for $42 even on best offer. We had these for a long time. I think I probably had them overpriced, but they were really nice. They were like, the leather was like butter, and I just don't think that you could really tell online how nice they were. So even though we didn't get positive feedback on these, I have a feeling the buyer was probably really happy with them. Something the buyer wasn't happy with, unfortunately, is this next item, and it was a pair of Bob's Memory Foam Eyelet Lace espadrilles. We got these in the Goodwill bins. They were really cute. We paid 94 cents for them, and they sold on offer to buyer for $24.48. We did get positive feedback on them, but then weeks later, the buyer contacted me and said, oh, I thought these were wide. Because I don't know if you've ever seen, I don't know if I have a picture of it, I'll show it if I do, but the way the Bob sizing is written is it says, like if they're women's, it'll say, like these particular ones were women's 8.5. It'll say 8.5 W or W 8.5. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'll show you a picture if I have it. And this buyer assumed that that meant wide. Even though I didn't say that they were wide in the listing, she just assumed that they were wide. She never asked the question, she just made the assumption. Then got them, left positive feedback, then later complained that they weren't wide and asked if she could return them. And I said, well, yes, you know, of course you can. If they don't fit, you're welcome to return them. Then I guess she never opened the return. I don't know if she figured out that she would have to pay return shipping or what exactly, but a return was never opened and nothing ever happened with it. So I don't know what to think about that, but that was kind of a whole interesting thing that happened. So I'm sorry that she was upset about it, but you know, what are you gonna do? Next up was a pair of 2 teacups from the brand Wedgwood in the pattern Vintage Blue Grapevine. These my husband got at the thrift store. He paid 95 cents and these sold on best offer for $20. Next is a pair of children's saltwater sandals that we got from that big liquidation shoe liquidation lot. We paid $9.09 for each pair of shoe, and these I say that every time, for each pair of shoes, and these sold for $38.18 on offer to buyer. Next up is a British TV series. I was just talking in another video about how we sell so many British TV series and British movies. And this is no exception. This one was called Midsummer Murders. It was a 4-disc DVD set. It was sealed. We got this in the Goodwill bins. It sold for $17 even on best offer, and we had paid $1.41. Next up was a pair of Nike men's Mercurial X Proximo. They were indoor soccer shoes. Unfortunately, they didn't have the laces, and just the way they were designed, you couldn't tell that they didn't have the laces, or I couldn't tell that they didn't have the laces. They were those like elasticized laces, so they look, you know, it's just something I missed when I picked them up. Anyway, we got these at the flea market. We paid $15 and they sold for $49.99, but they did kind of take a while to sell. But we did get positive feedback on them. So, and we still made a profit. Next up was a brand new and packaged 20-pack of Saran cutting sheets. These have been discontinued, and there are people who will pay a lot of money for discontinued items like these. These we got in an estate sale. We paid $1 for them, and they sold for $24.99. Next up was a really surprising sale. And if I ever see this item or the book of this or the book on tape or anything of this, I would pick it up because this sold so fast. And I noticed that it had like 100% sell-through rate. This is Dolly Parton. The book is called Dolly, My Life and Other Unfinished Business. This was the cassette audiobook. This one was sealed, but I noticed that the used ones were also selling great, and that the CDs were also selling great, and I would assume that the books also sell well. We got this at an estate sale. We paid $2 for it, and it sold immediately for $42.99. I had a lot of offers for it, but it sold for asking price. Next up was another item we got at an estate sale, and it was a vintage Gund. It was branded both Gund and Sears. It was a 14-inch stuffed Winnie the Pooh. It sold for $34.99, which was our asking price, and we paid $2 for it. Next up was a Go Texan Department of Agriculture poster. We got this from the other business that we own, from some of the old stock that it no longer sells. Oddly, this did not go to someone in Texas. I think it went to someone in Georgia. I'm pretty sure it went to someone in Georgia. It sold for only $12, but we had this in our store for a long time, so we were glad to get it out the door. And that sold on best offer. Next up were two items that went to the same buyer. So they didn't say that they were a subscriber, but if this was a subscriber, thank you very much for your purchase. It was a Tenacious D Pick of Destiny women's t-shirt, and then a lot of 6 Pogs, Todd McFarlane Pogs. These sold in total for $16.78, and I'm pretty sure that was on best offer. And these were both items. The t-shirt was my old t-shirt, and then the Pogs were from my husband's personal collection. So those were both items that belong to us. So thank you for your purchase if that was a subscriber. Next up was a vintage 1982 bottle of Avon perfume. It was the Louis Farad Paris Fantastique bottle, and that sold for $16 even on best offer. We got that at an estate sale, and we paid $2 for that. We got positive feedback on that. Next up was a Ryobi cordless auto hammer. There was no battery with it. The battery didn't work, but we sold it as a bundle deal with the charger and the hammer and the case and everything. I picked that up at a garage sale. I paid $10 for it, and it sold for $52.99, so definitely still worth it. We did get positive feedback on that as well. Next up was a Slayer baseball hat. It was like Slayer the band. That we got at an estate sale. It sold for $39.99, and it sold for $2.71. And it sold for our asking price. And we also got positive feedback on that. Next up was another replacement toner. This one was most of the toner that we sell is unbranded toner. It's just replacement toner cartridges. This one was for Sharp, not Sharp brand, but for Sharp. This one sold for $37.48, and we paid $3.19 for each of the toners. This one sold on offer to buyer. Next up was another item that we got at the Sugar Train estate sale. This was a Duluth Trading Company, a long sleeve hooded Henley. This one, let's see, this one was not new. We did get a lot of new clothes at that one, but this one wasn't new. This one was a 3XL, which was a great size. This sold for $31.98 on offer to buyer, and we paid $6 for it. Next up was a pair of Anne Klein espadrille wedges. They had like a really cute pineapple print all over them. We got them at an estate sale. No, not at an estate sale. We got these at a thrift store. We paid $4.54 for them, and they sold for $28.58. These were in our store for the longest time, and I don't remember if I lowered the price, or I think maybe we retook the pictures and then they sold. And last, I always go over the collectible cards that we sold from my husband's personal collection. And this week we sold 19 cards for a total of $57.20. And that wraps up our sales for the week of April 2nd through 8th. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. And more importantly, we would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to our channel if you aren't already. And if you are subscribed, please make sure you hit that notification bell so you can be kept informed of all of our newest content. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time. Bye.